You get the concept with this like drawing stuff, right? So let's take it up a notch. So we have a button. How do we animate it? We can use the set position node. And we can basically animate here. Like, I don't want to like knock like this process as well. You use Blender however you want to use it. Like, I could come in here and I could generate keyframes as well. I can come in here and animate again. I can like move it. And you can see that even with a geometry node, I'm still getting that kind of like keyframe animation that you can just like move around and edit and like touch and control. No math involved at all. Totally possible. But let's do math, because why not? Let's make the animation timeline 180 frames. This is normally what I do for my animations, because 180 divided by 24 is like not an even number, but something like semi-nice for social media. And then we take the scene time, and this gives us access to the frames in the scene. So as I'm progressing through this timeline, you can see it's going from 0 to 180. That's what this number is basically going to give us here. Like, I can literally just take this and I can plug it into here. And you can see that as we animate, it's going to just like fly away. It's going to like go really far. It'll be hard to track because of just how much it's going, but it'll go. So how do we control that? We could say, let's make a speed node. I technically should have done a divide, and we'll do like by 100. And you can see now going much slower, which is good. But how do we control this animation? You know, like, this is just something that's telling it like, you know, this is the frame, this is something, you know, like make the X and the Y go bigger now. Like, that's not really that helpful in a way. You know, like, what if I wanted the button to fade up, then come back down, or something like that? How would I control the animation like that? So now that you get the concept of the frames going, let's take that and let's run it through a map range node. And what this basically does is it takes the value here and it converts it to another range. So let's say we know the number of the total frames that we want, right? We have 180 frames here. We can come down and say, we're going to go from 0 to 180. And between like that number, we want to convert that to 0 to 1. So that basically now, you'll see it when it animates. It'll go to like one spot and stay there. And that is technically, you can see it in the coordinates, like 1, 1. Like 1. And then it goes back to 0. And then 1. And I can even change this number, and you can see here, the position will just go kind of where I tell it. So now we kind of have a control of the position there, right? Kind of. So let's say, let's combine an XYZ, because we only want it to move up and down. And if we look at the gizmo over here, I can see that up and down is the Y. So I can kind of, you can, whenever you're in doubt, just like test stuff. Just like go crazy. It's like, don't trust the math. Just trust your hands, you know? But yeah. So I know that that's the one that I want because I can move it. So now let's take that and we'll plug it in right there. And as we progress, it's going to start from there and go up. Cool. Let's change that to -1 to like 0. So that it's starting from below and it's coming up. And instead of -1, let's do negative like 0.1, because I don't know why it's like so far away. It's like the scale I'm working at or something, right? Let's do 0.5, I guess. That's a little better. You get the idea, right? Cool. Now we have like a little fade up animation. Almost fade. It's just a move up. There's no fade yet. So what if I wanted this to fade? You know, what if I wanted to now not only have it move, but I also need to animate the opacity of this object? Well, we can basically go and we can take this node called store named attribute, and we can make a named attribute called opacity. And then we basically apply it to the point This will become like important later when we're working with instances, because you'll want to like actually change this to instance. But for now, point works because we're just working on geometry, no instances, normal stuff. But we're storing data called opacity on each point of this mesh. And what we can do here is, usually when we're fading up and down like this, it'll start at the bottom and it'll start at like a 0 opacity. So it's completely faded out. And then as it comes up, it'll become like a 1 opacity. So what we can do is we can change this now, kind of connect this. And we're going to say that this is going to go from 0 to 1, and then we want it to go to the numbers that we were going to before. So that negative value. So we'll go 0, 1. And this does the same thing we were doing before, right? Cool. But we need this here because we need a 0 to 1. And we'll take this and we'll run it through another map range. And like I said, we want it to be 0 opacity and we want it to become 1. So we actually don't need this actually. It'll work. 0 opacity. Take this, connect it to that. Yeah, I'll do it and then I'll show you later kind of like manually what's going on. But cool. So now we have an opacity attribute. You can see it here. And as we're animating, it's basically filling up the opacity. So now I can come over here to the shading tab and we can basically take a look at the materials that we were looking at before. And you can see that I have the animated alpha here. Let's like remove that. And then let's go and let's say attribute. So this is how we access the data attributes that we create in geometry nodes. Opacity. Plug that right into the alpha. We have it set up, so cool. Check it out. So now that this is set up to the opacity, you can see that when this becomes 1, it basically fills up with color. So if I undo that, we go back down, we can see that now with the animation that it goes up, it fades up. But like before, just like the same thing that kind of is like a blender, this kind of sucks and we have to do it. For each material, if I want to have it animated, I have to make sure that I sync it up and alter the material basically, do this extra step. But now you can see that our text also fades in now with our button. Is that better? Like lit. Yeah. Cool. All right. Not bad. And this way we're controlling one object. This is kind of like the way we were doing it before, where we were like, oh, how do I do multiple objects? I got to do the empty, but then I'm still animating each of the different like materials. Like with this, as long as you have the attribute inside of each material, you can basically sync them up as you need at different points of the animation. Like you could just be going ham. It's really useful in this kind of regard. This has been going long, but we'll do one last trick because this was a cool one that I basically kind of discovered. So you're like, cool, I want it to fade up, but I also want it to fade down. How do I do that? You basically have the logic here. You know, we're going from 0 to 1 already. And I've already shown you how you can take 0 to 1 and make it a different range. So what if we took this 0 to 1 and we piped it over here? And instead of saying that we're looking for 0 to 1, we'll say that we're looking from 0 to 1 to 0.5, about halfway through. And we'll do the same over here. We'll say we start at like 0.6 because we just want to give it some time to just chill out and like be around. And we'll go to the max of like 1. So this basically starts like from the start to halfway, and this goes from halfway to the end. And it all uses this same 0 to 1 number over here from our like frame animation. So basically this is going from 0 to like 90 frames, and then this is going from like 100 to 180 because of the 0.6. But yeah, so with that, we have a kind of like up and down, right? So if I go here and we kind of shift this over because we need some space. And we say switch. Let's do a switch that is a float. So, and let's remove this one. This. So, in the first part of our animation, it's 0 to 0.5. So that is fine. So we'll say when this number is greater than 0.5, we need to switch over to this one. And this one will be reverse. So you can see here that we're going from like 0 to 1, and this one will go 1 to 0. So it'll just literally be reverse. So as it's like progressing, it'll reverse in direction. So we go up for the 90, and we come back down. And then this same output that we have here, I can bring it over here for the opacity. So you see it fades up and fades back down. And then we get that in like one little neat animation. And like I said, why do this in geometry nodes? Why not just manually like set this up with like keyframes? Because I can basically set it up now to, so let's say I wanted in 90 frames. And it goes faster, you know? It's these kind of like parameters that the geometry nodes gives you access to that just makes it kind of worth it once it's all set up. Because like I said before, you can basically take all this kind of logic that we have here for the animation, you can group it up and you can get some pretty nice groups. I currently use stuff like frame animation loop. That basically just does exactly what I was showing you there, where I go in, I grab the frame, I ping pong it just because it'll like do a natural loop, and then we divide it to get that 0 to 1 number. So I don't have to use a map range. It's the same kind of math logic. And then I have an easing curve that I use, which is really nice. You'll see a lot of my animations, I'll do the same kind of like easing. And this just basically gives me this across all my different files because I have it in one of my Blender asset manager thingies. I created a rounded rectangle one. So it basically like creates like a rectangle like we're seeing here, but it actually is rounded. And I can control the radius and stuff like that. You can have some fun with geometry nodes. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. I think I go here, unassigned. Yeah, you can see all the different ones I've made. Yeah, you get the idea. Appreciate you watching the video. As always, like, subscribe if you like this kind of content. I'll try to make some more for you. If you're interested in this process, you know, if you have questions, let me know in the comments. You know, just put them down in the comments. I'll get back to you. I'll try to like point you in the right direction or something. It's hard. I'm sure you're going to like comment and you're going to be like, you're just going to want to like paste a picture of your like node graph or something. That, yeah, I feel you there. But like, if you hit me up on like social media, maybe Blue Sky or something, and you send me like a little node graph, I can take a look at it. Intro to motion graphics a little bit here. There's so much more that I didn't really get into. There's like rendering stuff that I cover in my article that talks about the best methods for like rendering this and like getting like transparency and stuff so you can like stack things and just all those kind of various aspects, you know, thinking about rendering engines and whether or not you need opacity and little tips and tricks for like skipping opacity and skipping lighting for your scene and stuff like that. Because I didn't even get into that, but you can see it here where I had like the geometry and it was looking like all dark. It's because there's no lighting in the scene. You literally got to light the scene or you're not going to like see anything. Like that's a whole step of motion graphics that people don't often have to think about. You just put a color down and your color is your color. And you can do that in Blender, but you have to set that up. And I go over that kind of stuff in the article. But yeah, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, check out my blog, check out the other videos on my channel, and stay curious.